Buenos dias.
Buenos dias. Hello guys, Kris and Matej from Kings of Mead. We are the founders of the largest mead competition in the world, Mead Madness Cup. We're also certified judges of Mead MJP, Mead Judging Program. And today we've been asked by our friends in Mexico to talk about our favorite subject, which is
Mead?
Mead, exactly.
Yeah.
We are coming to Mexico very shortly, which we will tell you all about in a second. But we're still in UK. The weather is glorious. That's why we wear shades. It's all nice. But the time difference between UK and Mexico, it's quite substantial. So we cannot do any live streams. So we need to record it, and hopefully we will manage to cover all the topics which have been kindly supplied by our friends. So Matej, let's just start it with what is mead and why. How wide it is spread in the world.
First of all, we guys don't know how much knowledge about the mead you have, so forgive us if you go very basics. We not go too many details because that's gonna be on our training, which is we're gonna do a training for mead judges at 21st of August in San Luis Potosi. But basically, what is mead? It's probably the oldest alcohol beverage known for humans, and what we need for mead is the honey, water, and yeast. If there are them three are there, we can call that drink mead. Of course, on top of that, you can add many other different ingredients, and that's what I like to say is the beauty of the mead, because all other beverage like beer and wine, they got some rules. For wine you have to use the grapes, you have to use exactly the same strain for that kind of wine. Beer, same, malt, hops. They are quite strict.
Yeah, with beer you got even more, because you have to have exactly the same color for the style.
Exactly.
The IBU, which is the International Bitterness Unit. All these characteristics are very tightly specified and very tightly regulated. So you cannot just be as free as you would like.
That's the beauty of mead. You can add pretty much anything. If you got honey, water, and yeast, you can get anything. Yeah. And I would like said as well, winemakers and beer makers, they more like crafters. Mead makers are artists, because you got that freedom for create your drink.
Yeah. Absolutely. I'm going to put a pin here, stick a pin in here, because I will come back to that statement you just said, that you can add everything and it's the freedom and all that, because this is actually one of the challenges, but we'll talk about it in a bit. So yes, in the mead, also known as a honey wine, basically alcoholic beverage made by fermenting a honey must or honey malt. Now, it's so widely spread around the world, that anywhere in the world where there were bees, there was some sort of alcoholic beverage made with honey, and that's proven. I think the eldest founds of mead were in China. They did about 8,000 BC. So there's China, but obviously we know the Poland has the massive tradition of making mead. So that's Europe. Obviously we know the Vikings play pivotal role in spreading. I wouldn't say they invented mead, they didn't, but obviously they raided so many countries, and they took what's the best of these countries, and one of them was mead. So they spread the mead around all the areas they were conquering. Africa, again, next to Poland, the parts of Eritrea and Ethiopia are known for producing tej, which is mead.
What was quite important, because some mead makers or winemakers, they're gonna tell the wine is the oldest drink for humanity. The beer is the oldest. Why we think the mead is oldest? Why?
Well, I think it's quite simple, because mead actually could ferment spontaneously. where for wine you have to put some sort of a processes, right? You have to like crush the grapes, you have to put them in a vessel and all that. With beer, it's absolutely, you have to have agricultural knowledge to harvest grain, and then to process the grain into malt, and then to ferment it. Also, you need to boil it for a long time. So obviously, there's a lot of process involved. Where with mead, there's a hypothesis, which I'm quite keen to believe in, that it just happens spontaneously. Like just I'm going to tell that story very quickly. In Africa, there were the wild bees have the hives in some old trunks of the trees. So obviously the honey were already there. Then the monsoon came, flooded the hive. Naturally, the honey and the water diluted, right? They connected, diluted. Then the sun came out again. It starts spontaneously fermenting. So any person walking by could just grab a handful or and try that liquid and says, oh, it's like honey, but actually it's not a honey, it's slightly different. And then the effect of it kicked in, because obviously it was alcohol. So that it's very possible that that's how mead came by known to humanity,
without any knowledge of agriculture or even making fire or something. So that's why we think that mead is the first beverage. I think we're gonna stop about history here, because much more we're gonna provide on our training. If you haven't signed yet, I'm not sure that spaces are available.
I'm pretty sure I've seen a note that it's been fully booked, but you never know. You can
But it's always worth to ask. Maybe someone will cancel last moment, and you can take his place. Or if we got enough people, we might come back to Mexico, do it that again, which is we're gonna be very happy.
Right. If you don't mind, I will be using my little notes here, which I've been sent. So we cover that. The second one is the evolution of mead judging worldwide, and the birth of Mead Madness Cup in Poland. So, well, Mead Madness, it's a long story. I'm not going to tell it all, but in a nutshell, in 2018. We organized the very first European Mead Makers Conference in Poland, and having all these people, the mead maniacs in one room, we decided, what, why not utilize them and have a home mead competition. So that's what we did. We literally just created the first mead competition, Mead Madness Cup in 2018, just for home mead makers, with 4 categories, right? It was quite simple, it was free of charge to enter, and I thought we were going to get maybe 20 entries. We got 60. We got 60 entries from as far as Korea. What else?
On first one.
Australia. Yes, Australia as well. Right. Obviously, the majority was from Poland, but we had quite a few from around the world.
Of course, Europe. That's normal things. European Union. It's quite easy to send send alcohol, so we get few that.
And that in 2018 we didn't hold a commercial competition yet. There was still a competition called Craft Roku, which was like a massive beer competition, which had like a mead element in it. But in 2019 they've decided to stop, to go take the mead out and just move the competition. So we just grabbed this opportunity and says, what, let's just add commercial aspect to Mead Madness Cup. And in 2019 we held the first commercial Mead Madness competition. How this all evolved, obviously we started small, right? We didn't start with like 20 or 30 categories. We started small with only 4, and then as the year went by, we saw the trend of people entering more. So we thought, well, we need to split those categories. So then we, apart from having the 4 major one, we then add a lot of like subcategories. So yeah, it's been a hell of a ride since 2018. We're in 2025 now. We literally held the 7th edition of Mead Madness Cup with over 700 entries.
Over 800.
Or 800 entries. Sorry, 850. Yeah, 700 was last year. It's just
we official for last 2 years. We official the biggest mead competition in the world. So that's great. Main issue what we have when we began was problem with the judges. Me and Kris have a little bit background with as a beer judges in some competitions, of course in the mead, but it was problem in Europe to get the certification. especially on this time, only BJCP give that certification only for mead. So with group of friends in Europe, experienced mead makers and the mead lovers, we decide we're gonna create a mead judging program, which is we're gonna bring to Mexico this year, and you can pass exam and be official mead judge there. We haven't when we start, we haven't created something totally new. We follow the categories and rules from BJCP. We're gonna talk about that difference on our course. It's no point to go to the details now.
Too much, yeah.
But yes, we start from what BJCP have on that time, but because mead judging program is created for mead only, it's not like it's small little brother add to the beer categories. So we believe we got more experience and we evolve quicker. So it is small difference, and I think it's this program is create more and better for meads than BJCP mead program.
Yeah. Let's stop a little bit while we start mentioning obviously about the mead judging program, and talk a little bit about categories and how these things evolve in the competition. Because as I mentioned earlier, we had 4 main categories in the first competition, and now we've got around 30 or so. But there are still 4 main ones, which are like obviously traditional, and then the fruit mead, spiced mead, and anything specialty. And how is that evolving? We notice a trend that more and more session mead has been entered. So MGP introduced a category for session mead.
Excuse me, Chris. What's the session mead?
What's the session mead? So the session mead is like with the session beer. Session mead is a weaker, slightly lighter version of mead. So instead of having like a 12, 13, 15% glass of still mead, it's more like a 5-6%. Very often carbonated, made with obviously smaller amount, the lesser amount of honey. Of course, you can add any other ingredients like the fruits or hops or whatever. But basically, in a nutshell, it's more resembling more of the beer or cider rather than the wine. Where traditional mead is resembling more of a wine. So yeah, so that's the session mead. The other thing we've noticed which happens quite a lot, is a Bolshoi style. Again, this wasn't a style, this wasn't something recognized before, but more and more people start caramelizing the honey before fermenting. This is called the Bolshoi. So because of that, we decided, right, okay, if it's so popular, let's create a category for Bolshoi mead. And this is the beauty of actually organizers of the competition, that they can stick to the rules, right, to the main canon, but also they can recognize the trend and they can introduce some new categories. Now, obviously, we're going to Mexico. I'm not very familiar with the Mexican mead scene. This is something I'm really hoping to explore while we'll be there.
Guys, help us.
Yeah, but perhaps there are like specific styles or which the Mexican mead makers or like South American mead makers are making. And if that's the case, then perhaps in the future years in the Mead Madness Mexico or Mead Madness Americas, there will be introduced a different category for such mead. So I don't know. Obviously, we'll have to observe. We'll see what's entering the competition, and then we can make that decision saying, yeah, actually, we can warrant an extra category for, I don't know, mead made with agave syrup, which it's still possible to enter it, but it's not that common.
Yeah. Stop a little bit in category, because we also maybe I should mention that when we talk about what's the mead. Many times we can hear from people who have first touch with mead. Oh, mead! I drink that before. Sweet. That's the thing. Mead don't have to be sweet.
Absolutely not.
We recognize 3 category on the sweetness, which is sweet, like desserts, very sweet.
Yeah, the wines.
Medium, which is semi-sweet, so you got a little bit sugar, and dry. But dry shouldn't be bone dry, like some very dry wine. Should get a little bit sugar. But yeah, that's the 3 different perspective of the sweetness, and of course alcohol ratio. The strongest mead you can find in the world, they probably got around 18%. But like Chris mentioned about session, they can go even below 4.
Yeah, I think you actually touched on something which we were supposed to talk anyway.
Because I don't see that
No.
I don't see that question would been sent to us, so I just kind of improvise, but I
Yeah,
hope so
yeah,
I do
yeah.
it well.
You're doing very well. So let's just maybe go to the next bullet point: the current style profiles and quality trends. Well, the quality, and this is something we noticed, and we actually discussing quite a lot. That the quality of entering the meat entries into Mead Madness Cup is raising every year. There is very little bad meat now entering the competition. So the first years, just after inception, well, there was a mixed bag. You had really good ones, you had decent ones, you had quite a lot of bad ones. Now it's very little bad ones. So you are competing against the best out of the best in the world.
In the world.
And it's really harder and harder to win a medal in the Mead Madness.
I think there's some meats which is won medal on a first competition. It could I don't say it's necessary, but could be struggled, get to the final in the last year, for example.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. Let's talk a little bit about the sweetness you mentioned, and this is something called regional bias, where different countries may have a different sweetness perspective. Let's put it this way. So let's say if we take France for example, because this is probably the best one. French wines are very dry, they're bone dry. Anything which we class as a dry in Europe, in Poland, in the mead styles, they would probably class as a medium, because there is a little bit of sweetness. Their wines are so dry that the palate is tune in to detect any little piece of sugar, and they will obviously classify it as medium or sweet. So this is something we always have to be cautious when we judging. Where is this meat coming from? Or also the judges from certain country, they may have their own regional bias, and this is one of the challenges as an organizer we have to face. It happens. We're lucky enough to have such a broad variety of judges on the Mead Madness Cup, because we got people obviously from Poland, from the whole Europe. We got people coming from America, Asia,
Australia
last year, yeah.
First time
So we got really diverse palettes judging these meats, where I think some competitions, let's say in America, in USA, they more regional. So even though people from across the country will send their entries, the judges are very regionally biased. So I think this is our huge advantage. Is the number of judges and the variety of the judges.
But it's also for smaller competition, that's something what's gonna be chance. That kind of regional judges, and it's gonna be chance for future Mead Madness Americas to bring something different, and also big advantage, shipping cost. We find out shipping between oceans, between continents,
Yeah,
it's quite expensive, and it's not also expensive. It's also
yeah.
very tricky.
Legally challenging.
Yes,
Let's put it this way.
So that's one of the reasons why we, with help of our friends from Mexico, we decide expand and give a chance for that kind of pond where we can create meat competition, and hopefully then you don't have to send all meats to the Europe for the biggest competition. You can start from the smaller, build your palette, build your portfolio, find out which meats might win the medal, and then to Mead Madness Cup in Europe you can send only the best one. Might be, we will see. But yeah, I'm very looking to see what meat's gonna be there.
Right, let's move on to the next point here, which is the common registration mistakes and how to avoid them. So this is something where we do in our MJP trainings, we always put a little portion of that course to give people a bit of advantage and tell them how to correctly enter. So obviously we teach them how to judge, how to become a judge, but then from the other point is also if you actually enter in the competition, what to do to give your mead the best chance possible. Because I would say 50% of your medal is when you actually enter in your mead, correctly entering in the correct category.
That's quite a lot, but yes, competitions definitely start since when you try entry the mead. I'm not sure it's 50% like Chris. We not always agree, but yes, it's definitely big percentage.
It's a huge chunk of because if you incorrectly place your mead in the wrong category, it could be the best possible mead, but it won't win purely because it was miscategorized, and that's it. You know, so it could be the very best one, but if you just put it in the wrong category, that's you know, that chance went through the window. So what are the common registration mistakes? First of all, misplaced entries in the real life category mistakes. So basically,
Can I give them an example?
Sure.
Example on one of the competition. And guys, before we give you answer, you start thinking it's actually was the correct entry. One of the mead makers make mead with 10 different herbs, sweet and 10 different herbs, and he put on an entry all them herbs single, so we know exactly which herbs he used for that, we know exactly which honey he used, and he sent that with the also with the knowledge of the percentage of alcohol, percentage of the sugar, and another mead makers, he also used 10 different spices, but he gets kind of lazy, I don't know, and he put mix of spices, and he still give us the level of sweetness, level percentage of alcohol, and I give you 5 seconds, no more, to think. What do you think? Which one of them two mead makers make correct? One. The answer is they both make correct entry, but
yes,
do you want to explain?
Absolutely. So by listing the whole 10 herbs, you giving judges an ammunition to shoot back at you, right? Because if you list 10 different ingredients, the judge will be looking for every single one of them. So if you use something like cinnamon and cloves, okay, the very strong herbs, spices, which you can smell and taste straight away, well, that's great. But then if you also added some, I don't know, a little bit of thyme, a little bit of maybe you know, a mint, lemongrass, anything more delicate, there's a very high chance that these ingredients are covered, right? They're not on the first plant. You can't even detect them anymore. So they're still there, right? They probably add to the complexity, but you cannot actually find them. And the judge, by looking at the entry, say, well, 10 herbs, and he's looking by one, it will be looking for these ones. Now, there's a high chance they won't find them. By putting something like mixed herbs, right, you're taking away that ammunition from the judge. And they're like, oh, mixed herbs. And then the judges will do their job. Like, oh, it's cinnamon. Oh, it's also a clove. Oh, that's a bit of a, you know, I think it's a lavender. And the discussion starts, and they will list what's been added. They might be right, they might not be right, doesn't matter. Right? But you don't give them the chance to pinpoint you and take the points down, saying, no, there was no mint, there was no you know, lemon zest or whatever.
Yeah, exactly.
So sometimes a less is more.
Exactly, because if judges don't find what you declarate, you're gonna lose points. And it's only few people in the world, and I'm not even sure they're in the mead world, to recognize so many flavors.
Yeah.
It's very difficult, and it's good sense of smell, good taste, but also lots of experience.
Yeah.
So, advantage for you if you make entries, you put on your entry what you taste and smell, sensoric. Judges will concentrate on sensoric.
Yeah.
So you might be put them 10 herbs, but if you don't smell 5 of them, don't put it them. Sometimes same. To be clear, you don't have to be only herbs, fruits.
Fruit. Yeah.
Let's say cherries and strawberries, or cherries and peach. Peach, strawberries, very delicate fruit. Cherries, special tart cherries. They will probably cover the flavors from them. they put mix of fruits.
Yeah. Especially like let's say berries, for example.
Berries,
You can
yeah,
have like
yeah.
the raspberry, strawberry, and blackberry, and maybe blackcurrant. Okay, they're all berries, 4 of them. The chances to detect strawberry is next to none. So if you can't smell it, if you can't taste it, don't put it on an entry label. Just put like mixed berries. And I'll say anything more than 2 fruits, it should be classed as a mix. And then obviously there are rules. If you like putting stone fruits and berry fruits together, it's going to be different category, and you have to probably list them. But so honestly, the less is more in a competition reality.
Another common mistake. Can we go to next
Yeah,
one? Which is, I
absolutely.
think many people asking, "Oh, I make my mead at home." You asking how much alcohol I have there? I don't know. Fair enough. You don't have to send your meat to the lab. You know, at least you give us some clue, or give judges clue, organizer of the competition clue. That's enough. As a home mead makers, you don't have to exactly know how much alcohol is in your home.
No. You can
And-
calculate it. You can calculate it based on your gravities and all that. But you're never going to be 100% sure. And if you're not 100% sure, then in home competition, you don't have to enter your ABV. The commercial, yes, that's different. But commercial, it's available to sell. It's a requirement by law. It needs to be on a label. So the commercial producers, they know exactly what percentage they produced. So that's a different story. But as a homemade maker, don't make it up. If you don't know, just don't put anything.
Remember, judges will judge sensoric. They will not take care about lab contact. They will not send your meat to the lab. They will not send if you declare you use strawberries and raspberries. They will not measure percentage of the strawberry juice like that. They will concentrate what's on the glass. They're gonna use nose, mouth, and also a little bit touch inside your mouth. That's three most using receptor for judges. Rest is really up to you.
One more advice: just because you named your mead strawberry and lime mead, but you didn't list these ingredients, right? It doesn't gonna give the judges absolutely anything, because judges do not see the name of the mead. Right, they got a blind sample with the number, and that's it. So make sure when you fill in the application form to fill in all these details. Obviously you mentioned you don't have to list 20 different herbs, but don't base on it that just because you called it strawberry and lime, that automatically judges will know that there's a strawberry and lime being used. They won't. They only see what you've listed as the ingredients. And another thing, it's labels, right? Make sure if you enter in more than one entry, that you don't mix, that you don't cross label your bottles, because once the label is on a bottle, the stewards will just obviously take it out, they pour it, serve it to the judge, and your traditional and your fruit meat could be in 2 different parts of the room. Nobody will know that it was actually cross-labeled by you. So make sure you put attention to the detail, and you always put the right label on the right bottle.
We already talking already for half an hour, so
Move to the next one.
We have to a little bit rush. Like we said from the beginning, we're not gonna be able to tell you everything. Last thing about the last point, which is a little bit more maybe personal from organizer of competition. Spend a little bit time to find which category and what's the rules for the competition, which category of mead you're gonna entry, and what is rule of competition. Don't be lazy and text to the organizer or email, oh, I got that mead with that and that, which category I should send, or where to send. Spend your time, make your research, try find by self, and if you not find this information, then ask organizer of competition. It's really annoying, especially when the competition is coming close to answer or email, and maybe you will not get your answer on the time. That's it.
Exactly. Right. Bullet point 4: the role of the MGP judge in today's landscape. What's the expectation of the modern judge beyond scoring? Well, that's a good one, because anybody can taste the mead and says, I like it, I don't like it. Okay, it's that simple, right? You just have 2 samples, I like this one more than I like that one. Easy. But that's not what judging is all about. Okay, judging is more about pointing advantages and disadvantages of the mead. Yes, obviously also scoring points. We shouldn't be really judging meads against each other, right? We should focus on the sample we've got in the glass, and we should evaluate it, put a score, put it aside, move to the next one. Yes, we're human beings, and naturally we will be comparing. It's beyond us, right? You will. However, the best judge can really put it aside and just concentrate on one sample they are evaluating at that given moment. What else, judge? What was the other role of the judge? If there are any obvious mistakes, but you have to be careful with this one. You really need to be experienced judge and experienced mead maker. But if there are any obvious mistakes in the sample you've tasted, you've sampled them, then you can give some advice, maybe how to fix it. But as I said, you need to be really careful because you really don't know exact process being used. So unless you're 100% sure, I would then probably restrain myself and focus on sensoric, like Matej said. Make sure that you will describe what you can smell, what you can taste, what you can see, right? And then, if you can describe, oh, it's a bit of a volatile acidity, that's going to be a feedback to the entrance saying, yeah, okay, it went a bit of on an acidic way, maybe start turning the vinegar. And then another feedback might be harsh alcohol or very sharp vinegar like. It's like, yeah, okay, I probably had an infection in that mead, so yeah, there's a high chance that something went wrong.
Yeah, and judges should concentrate on sensoric. Should give a points for every samples, but comments. Kris said a little bit about that, but yeah, comments are quite important. So use them and write as much you can. Should we say about shed sandwich? Or are we gonna leave that for
that's more for the judge as well.
We leave that for the
for the training. We leave that for the training.
We can give you everything, and training gonna be about 6 to 7 hours, depends of the group, how many questions we have, how quick we taste. We really hope we're gonna get great group. So many more details will be on our MGP training.
So do you remember when at the beginning I said I'm going to put a pin in something you said?
I remember about pin, but I don't remember about what.
That was obviously when you said about the variety of the mead and how wide it is, and you can find something for everybody. Yeah. So obviously this is the beauty of the mead. However, it's quite challenging on the competition. Why? Because it's so wide. You can add absolutely anything, right? But then in the competition reality, you want to standardize things, and that's where it's becoming a bit tricky. Because the categories as they are, outlined at the minute, they pretty much cover everything. But the problem is that regionally made mead can use certain ingredients or certain processes which are only found in that area. So a fruit, for example, right? If we go to a tropical fruit from South America, we don't know this fruit in Europe. So if the European judge is gonna try to taste mead made with such fruit, they're gonna obviously have right, okay, what does it taste like? What am I? Is it the right example? Is it a bad example? They may not know. So this is the challenge. One of the challenges that judges are facing, and the other one probably is the most common, is the variety of the honey. Again, not every variety of the honey is available everywhere in the world. Manuka, okay, fine, this is so popular now, it's been shipped everywhere in the world, but before that it was obviously only available in New Zealand, and many European judges, they never tasted Manuka honey. So how they can know how does it taste after fermentation? And vice versa, right? We've got a buckwheat honey in Europe, in Poland, very popular. If we send that sample to Australia, for example, they may not be familiar with buckwheat.
You guys maybe gonna be not familiar with castaño honey. I'm not sure we got castaño in Mexico. Might be wrong, but yes, it's definitely different part of the world got different honey. It's even more. buckwheat from the from the
East and West Coast of
West
America.
Coast of America tastes totally different.
Yeah.
And they both taste different than one in the European. That's how different it could be.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Absolutely.
And beauty.
And beauty, yes, yes. But that's the role of the judging programs like BJCP or MJP is to try to standardize it and to give people like a playing field to play on. I think that's it. Any other common judging errors do you think that the judges may make? We obviously touched already on the regional bias when we talked earlier, and the sweetness, because I think this is probably the biggest one, that the sweetness perception is different at different people.
Searching for the faults and defects. I find out it's more in the beer coming from the beer judges than from the meat, but some judges they not concentrate on positives.
Yes.
They just searching what's wrong, yeah, where I can punch, where I can find something wrong. No, this don't have to be that. We're gonna touch again on a course that, but as a meat judge, you should think positive. Of course, if it's something wrong, point it.
Yeah.
But if it's nothing wrong or it's small defect, write like that. Don't be the the most strict judge in the room or in the world. You will not win nothing. There's no prize for that. So I always said to judges, be positive and try find positive in a drink in your glass.
Brilliant. Let's move to the last point, and the last point is called the questions only the founders of Mead Madness can answer. So let me answer the question, let me ask a question you can answer, and I'll just maybe add on top of it. So the first one, what are judges looking for in Europe versus Latin America?
Say again the question.
So what are judges looking for in Europe versus Latin America? So okay, I'll start.
Okay, but it's a difficult question because I haven't been in Latin America yet.
No, exactly. But obviously we got a group of judges who are coming from Europe.
Okay, yeah.
So what I would say, they probably looking at diversity. They're looking for something so unique that you can't find in Europe. You touched on it before, that shipping cost and it's quite tricky, and it's also impossible sometimes to ship from different countries. Now we're going to go to Mexico, and I'm really hoping I will try some spectacular meats from from Mexico, from Chile, from South America. The meats which I wouldn't had a chance to taste on the Mead Madness in Europe. So I think this is the main thing the judges coming to the Mead Madness Americas are going to benefit from, is that they'll be looking for these new tastes, new ideas of things which are not so common in Europe or like in the US.
Taking Europe as a one, it's also difficult because we got so much different region here. The Spanish meat makers will looking something different than meat than Polish or Scandinavian. But I also think Latin America, they do it more light, easy drinker meats than, for example, in the North or East Europe.
That's probably because of the climate.
That's because of the climate. That's what I said. But it's gonna be closer to Spanish. So yeah, that's my answer for
cool.
question.
Right. Second one, how do you evaluate a meat that breaks traditional style boundaries? That's a good one. So yeah, we do have categories for traditional, fruit, spice, and all that, and specialty, and you can always categorize meat in one of them. Always, if it's any like unstandardized item ingredients, it will go into like specialty category. But then this is something actually what I mentioned. Like, what if the judge don't know what does it taste like or what it should taste like? So my answer to this one would be, you focusing predominantly on the overall impression. Right? Does it fit the bill? Right? Does it have a honey character? Does it have the correct sweetness versus the style versus what been entered? And then is it enjoyable? Right? Because sometimes it could be perfect example of meat, but the ingredients just doesn't play along, and it's not going to be pleasant. It could be perfect example, fit right in the style, but it's not pleasant to drink. So
very important in meats, and not just meat, all other drinks, is the balance. And if you don't have much knowledge about the ingredients or method of how the mead was made, you can concentrate like what Chris just said. But also, if you use that word balance, you can go on so many aspects. Balance between honey and other ingredients, sweetness and acidity, balance between sweetness and bitterness, sweetness and alcohol,
Tannins.
all other things, and balance. Again, we a little bit touch of the course. Balance doesn't mean they all equal. They have to work together. Yeah, like in marriage, you are. You are maybe it's a bad example.
Yeah,
You are equal.
be careful, be careful.
You are equal, but
I
yeah,
would, compare
no,
it to-
you're not same.
Compared to the orchestra, right? You've got so many instruments playing in orchestra, right? Some of them are playing, the main role, maybe the violin or piano. But then you may have that two by the back who's only got like the three blows in the three blows in the exactly, on the triangle, ding, which only gives a little bit. So they're not all no need to be equal, but they all have to play a role in the overall. Yeah,
Guys,
I think we managed to
Yeah. Thank you.
No
Guys,
worries.
we could talk about meat for forever.
Right, we got last two questions and we're gonna wrap it up. So the next one is, what lessons have come from judging thousands of global entries?
I searching for new liver.
Yeah, you're on the transplant list already.
Yeah, before it that happened. No, but seriously, I haven't learned any. Well, probably a lot of small lessons, but explore. Open mind. Something what you sometimes you expect it's gonna not work well, or even in some example, you smell in a glass, the smell doesn't.
Yes, that smell doesn't always,
attractive,
yeah.
but then you take sip. Whoa! It's great. It could happen. Yes, as a judge, I will take some points from the aroma, but give lots of points. But yeah, open-minded and expect unexpectable.
Yes, for me, you can't smell sweetness.
Yeah.
And why? I mean, we do associate a lot of aromas with sweet, but I've found out on a number of occasions that this could be very deceiving. I had samples of meat which I've smelled and I'm like, ooh, that's really gonna be sweet, right? Because it had that beautiful, honey aroma and all that. Just to take a sip, I was like, whoa, I could not be more wrong. Because it was like totally dry or very fruity or whatever, and it was not sweet at all. So yes, that smell, it's very important, but it should obviously follow in the taste. But it's not always the case, and sometimes you can think that you know what it's gonna taste like, but you don't. So I think that's one of my lessons.
Yeah.
And the last question before we wrap up is very personal. What makes a Mead Madness medal truly special?
Well, we a little bit touched. Chris said we got so much different judges from all over the world, so that gives different palettes from everyone, every judge. We got so many different meats in the one place. We got lots of meats, lots of experienced judges in the one competition, and also the organizate and way how we eliminate the bad meats to go to the finals. It's probably way. It's not like your meat gonna be judged only for two judges in the Mead Madness Cup.
No.
It's at least gonna be, if you get medal, we pretty much guarantee it was at least 6 judges, which is taste your meat before it's get.
And if it's the gold medal, it's even more because it
Yeah.
went into a best of show competition. So that's another.
So it's
that's another few.
very
judges,
difficult. Well, I can be sure. Never for the last couple of years in Mead Madness Cup, medals was given to meats which is deserved. I'm sure.
Yeah.
And maybe not necessarily, that's important. Maybe not necessarily was the best because eliminate of some, but never bad meat get medals.
So that's, I think, in a nutshell, is that not always the best meat will win, but never meat And I think we covered all we've been asked for. So thank you very much, guys. I hope to see you in Mexico, San Luis Potosí. It's the 21st of August. That's Thursday. That's when is the MJP training, and the competition takes place on Friday and Saturday, I believe.
I think competition is, I believe, is on Fridays, 22nd, and 23rd is the award ceremony.
Yeah.
Or maybe finals.
But obviously, there is official Facebook, other social media. So just follow there, and yeah, I hope to see you there.
If you haven't registered your mead yet, do it. It's good fun, good experience, and definitely give chance to improve your future recipes. And join to the Mead Madness Cup America.
Absolutely.
On any aspect you want.
Take care.
Bye.